All right, you guys, I'm super excited to do the Zoom with you tonight. I want to talk about setting goals, why that's important, and then making the decision to make those goals happen and how to actually fulfill the goals. So first thing I want to do is set those goals, figure out what they are. So the first thing I want you to do, I want this to be like a speed round. And I want your homework to be to like double or triple this list later on. But speed round, I want you guys to either in your notes, on a notebook, or whatever, I want you to write down 10 long-term dreams you have that you would love if you could accomplish in the next 10 years. So for me, that's like buy a lakefront house, pay off Matthew's student loans, have 3 to 5 rental properties, like things like that. So what are some big goals that kind of scare you, but you're like, well, if I was your fairy godmother and I could wave a magical wand to make any of your dreams come true in the next 10 years, what would those look like? So write them down, put them in your notes, whatever you want to do, and then put done in the chat when you're done. And then later on tonight, I want you to go back and I want you to make that list like 20 to 40 things versus just 10. But I want to do this real quick. Think of 5 to 10 things that you can think of right now that it would be really cool to have done in the next 10 years. Also, sorry, it's quiet. I don't want to put music on because then I won't be able to put it up on YouTube. So deal with the silence. I'm going to give you guys like 2 more minutes. If it's not done, we will move on. Okay, a few of you messaged me saying you were done. So if you're not done, finish working on that. But I just wanted you guys just get thinking bigger for a second, because sometimes it's easier to think of big goals if they're like super far in the distance, right? Like it's harder to say, oh, I want to get this done in the next 10 days. But if it's like, oh, what do you want to get done in the next 10 years? If I could wave a magical wand, it's a little bit easier. So I want to talk about setting goals for the next, like by the end of the year, the next 6 months, and then like a year from now. Okay. So when setting goals, and you guys, this is something that you're going to have to think about. I don't want you to have this done right now, but I want you to, in the next couple days, figure out what your goals are for the end of the year, the next 6 months, and a year from now. When you're thinking of goals, I want you guys to, this is something Corbett's been talking about, and I was talking to Lanisa about it, is setting what's called SMART goals. Okay. So S stands for specific. Okay. So what exactly do you want to accomplish? What is that goal? Okay. Make sure that it's measurable. That's what M is for. How will you know when you meet that goal? Right. A stands for attainable. Is it possible to meet that goal with extra effort by the time that you want to? R, is it relevant? Is it even worth working hard to accomplish that goal? Okay. And then T, is it timely? What is the deadline to meet your goal? Okay. So that can be a specific like amount of income that you want to earn by the end of the year, or a specific rank, or pay off a certain amount of debt, or whatever, a certain amount of tier 1s or tier 2s or Christmas cash, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Set those goals for the end of the year, 6 months, and then a year from now. And I hope you guys are taking notes, because I did a couple of things that I just wanted to research for you guys and just make it easier, because I think sometimes setting goals is hard. So for each of your goals that you set for the end of the year, 6 months, and a year from now, I want to work on a couple of things for each of them. So start with the end of the year, right? And then once you're done with that, later on, you can do the 6 month and year from now goals. But I want you to figure out these things, and I want you to write them down. And this is recorded, like I said, so it will be up on my YouTube. First thing I want you to write down is, this goal is important to me because blank. Why is this goal important? Okay, because you can't just say, oh, I want to make $3,000 by the end of the year. Okay, well, why is that important? What's that $3,000 going to do for you? What's that going to pay for? What is that going to feel like? Not just because I want to. Why is it important? Okay. Then I want you to write down, what are some things that you're good at that are going to help you achieve the goal? So if you're good at, you're like, oh, I'm really, really consistent. That can be something you're really good at. Or I'm really good at posting or talking on my stories or being positive or whatever. What are some things that you're good at to help you towards that goal? And then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to figure out, what are some obstacles that you're going to have trying to hit that goal? So maybe that's the opposite. Maybe you're not consistent. Maybe post to post is really hard for you. Maybe you've never done reels, but you want to, or maybe you're really bad at follow-ups, whatever it is. Okay. And then for each of your obstacles, I want you to figure out how you're going to combat those obstacles. Because if you know they're going to happen, then it's easier to plan for what to do around them. Okay. So for each of the goals, why is it important? What are things that are going to about you that will help you reach the goal? What are obstacles that are going to make it more difficult? And then how are you going to combat those obstacles? What are you going to do to fix them? Okay. So I want to talk about some things that you can do besides all that goal setting. And does anyone have any questions about that before I move on? No. Okay. I want to talk about some things that you can do to make that decision count. Okay. So many times in this business, we make these goals, right? I remember, and I am guilty of this every year on January 1st, everyone's like, oh, what's your goal for the year? And I'm like, triple diamond. But I truly don't think I have ever truly made the decision to make it happen. Has anyone put a 1 in the chat if you've heard someone say on a Zoom, like, oh, you just have to make the decision to make it happen? And you're like, great, well, I've like decided to make Go Ruby or to make $1,000 or whatever, right? It's something that people say all the time is, oh, you just have to make a decision to make it happen. And that used to make me so freaking mad. Anyone else get mad when people say that? Because I'm like, what do you mean? It's just, I just flip a switch in my head and then it just happens, right? Like I'm just magical. Like, what do you mean? Just make a decision. But what I think that means, my perspective of that is that you are making a decision that you're not going to let anything stop you. That you're not going to get discouraged after a month or two of going towards that goal when it's not coming together, or you're not going to give up on yourself on when you wake up on a Tuesday morning and you don't feel like working, right? So it's making that decision, yes, that first time, like right now, whatever you made that decision for your goal is, but it's also making that decision day in and day out to make that goal happen. So it's making that decision tomorrow when you want to sit and watch Netflix, it's making the decision to work instead, or it's making the decision to, instead of going out to dinner, telling your husband like, hey, I'm going to get this work done. And if I get it done in time, we'll do dinner. Otherwise, let's do dinner at home and we'll go out for drinks or whatever, right? So it's just making the decision to put that goal ahead of everything that you want to do right now. And the reason I say that is because I have never truly done that with going triple diamond. And that's why I've never hit triple diamond. But I remember when I was pushing to double and when I was getting my husband's account to double, I said no to things that I wanted to do because I wanted to be double, or I wanted him to be double so much more, right? So I said no to, oh, we're not going to go out on a date tonight, or we're not going to go do this or do that because I wanted to be double. So I made that decision day in and day out to put more effort in, to put my business ahead of other things that I'd normally do. And the other thing that comes with making that decision is, how many of you, put a 2 in the chat if you have a daily list, right? And on that list, if you have a specific number of either post to post or conversations you want to have or new potentials or whatever. Does anyone have that, like those, like where you have like a number, right? So making this decision, it is deciding that like, you're not going to let yourself off the hook, because so many times we put a 3 in the chat. If you're like, my goal is 10 host posts a day, but then it hits like 10:30 p.m. and you're like, well, I have 6. So I guess 6 is fine, right? Like you get to this point where you just like hit a wall and you're like, that's it for today. When you make the decision to make your goals happen, you don't stop there. You just keep going and you keep going and you keep going. I remember there were nights when I was going double diamond that I literally did not go to bed until 2 a.m. Literally, because I was not going to bed until I hit my goal every single day. Now, my goal back then was excessive and it was a lot. It was very stressful. But my goal was I was going to enroll someone, whether it's a customer or distributor, every single day. And I did. But it was very, very hard. It was very, very difficult. But you have to make a decision and make it rock solid that you're going to do whatever it takes to get there. Because at the end of it, when you do hit that goal, you're going to look back and be like, man, that was so freaking worth it. It was so, so worth it. So some things that you can do to help with that is, one, you can get your family involved. Okay. I want you to figure out whatever your goal is. And if you know already what your goal for the end of the year is, please put it in the chat because I'll use it as an example because my brain is dead. But if you know what your goal is for the end of the year, put it in the chat. But so say your goal is like, I want to earn a Christmas cash and a success bonus by the end of the year, right? I'm sure that's someone's goal, whether you're on the Zoom or not. I want to earn a Christmas cash and success bonus. Okay. Well, first off, I want to ask you, how are you going to reward yourself for completing that goal? Because it can't just be, oh, I'm just going to be proud of myself. It's just going to be like a good job, Courtney. That's not going to do it for you. Okay. Yes, I know that money is going to be helpful for you, but you have to have something, even if it's like, I'm going to go get a back massage, or I'm going to go get my nails done, or I'm going to go to Target, buy whatever the heck I want because I can. Literally, it has to be something. It doesn't have to be something big. I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to go buy a Lamborghini, but something that will be like, okay, well, I'm excited to do that. If you've been on Zooms with me before, you've heard me say this. Last year, when I was doing these Christmas cash bonuses with the newborn, I told myself if I finished 3 Christmas caches, I was going to go buy a brand new washer and dryer because ours were old and crappy and burnt all of our clothes and I was sick of it. So that was my reward. And that kind of leads into my second thing, because that was mine and my husband's reward. He didn't get a choice in the matter. But like what I did with when I was going double, I don't remember what his was, but I told him like, hey, I'm gonna be working more than you probably want me to. I'm gonna be on my phone more than you probably want me to. I'm probably gonna ignore you. I'm probably gonna not realize you're talking to me. And it's not because I hate you or because I don't love you or I'm purposely ignoring you, but I'm trying to get this goal done. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what it's going to do for our family. What do you want when I accomplish that goal? Okay. You can also do that with your kids because it's a lot easier to say no to yourself and ignore your wants and your dreams for yourself. But if your kid, like you tell your kid, hey, when mommy hits this goal, I'm going to go buy you a remote control car or whatever. I don't even know what. Carter doesn't really want anything right now. He doesn't talk. So, but I'm sure kids get older, they want 8 million things plus a million more, right? So if you tell your kid, hey, if I do X, Y, and Z, we'll go to Disney World, right? Well, it's a lot easier to say no to yourself. But if your kid's like, hey, how's it going? Are we going to go to Disney World? That's going to keep you motivated. That's going to keep you going more so than if you're like, well, it'd be nice to make some extra money, right? So figure out something that's going to tie you to these goals. And what I want to end with, and y'all, I wanted to make this Zoom really, really short because I know that there's a lot coming. There's a new, what can I say? There is something coming tomorrow, a big announcement. Please be on Networks' page because there's a lot. It's just, y'all are going to die. Okay. I know it's coming and they're wonderful and it's great. But what was I saying with that? I was talking something about goals. What I want to ask you, and I ask this all the time. If you're on my team, you know, I've said this before, but so these goals that you have, it's going to be, you're going to have days that you feel like you can't do it. You're going to have days that you feel like all your effort is for no reason. You're going to have days where you're like, oh, if I could only have the network that my upline has and get the comments that my upline does, I'd have no problem hitting my goals, right? Or if I just could look like this person, or if I could talk like this person, or if I was confident enough to do what this person does, whatever. right? You're going to have days that you try to talk yourself out of your goal and tell yourself that you can't do it, that you're not worth it, that it's not going to come together. I want to ask you right now, are you 100% sure? Because when I thought about this, I don't know if I was the first one to think of this. I obviously probably wasn't, but when I tried to tell myself that I couldn't hit a goal that I wanted, my next thought was, are you positive you can't hit it? Do you know without a shadow of a doubt that you can't hit the goal? And the answer is no, because you've never done what you're doing right now in this season for this goal, right? You've never had this network at this time with these products, with this business, with this bonus, with all the things, right? So the answer is no, you don't know for sure whether you can hit it or not, but it's a 50-50 shot, man. Like, you don't know. Can you for sure hit it? I don't know. Are you for sure going to fail? I don't know. But in my head and in your heart, you should know it's going to be a lot better if you give it your all, tilt the scale a little bit towards getting it, towards hitting that goal, towards getting that bonus, towards making that money. Because worst case scenario, you guys, even if, so say your goal is Christmas cash, say that's what you're going for, but say you miss it a little bit. Well, if you do 2 tier 1s and 3 tier 2s, guess what? That's still like $1,200. Hello, $1,200 before Christmas time is still a heck of a lot of money, right? $1,200 before Christmas time. I bet you right now, if you go and ask your boss, hey, if I work an hour a day, can I have a $1,200 Christmas cash bonus? They're going to be like, no, like, absolutely not. What do you mean? No, you get paid. That's what you get. There's so much money here. So it doesn't matter. You guys, the goals matter, but what matters more is your daily consistent effort to make that goal happen. And if you're at a point where you're like, I'm willing to do the things, but I don't know what to do, or I feel like I've been doing all the right things, but nothing's coming from it, reach out to your upline and say, hey, can you help me? Here's my goal. Here's what I want to do. Here's why I want to do it. Here's what I've been doing. What else can I do? What can I fix? Because at the end of the day, at the end of the year, at 6 months from now, a year from now, you're going to look back and either you're going to have hit your goal or you're not. That's it. Those are the only options. Either you hit it or you didn't. So I want you to think of that. And I want you to ask yourself right now, are you willing to do all the things to make that goal happen? And if the answer is no, the goal is not right. The goal is not deep enough. You don't know why you want to do that. Because if your goal is just, oh, I want to do Christmas cash to make some extra money, that doesn't do anything for you. But if it's like, hey, I want to do Christmas cash because I want to take that $3,000, I want to put $500 towards my kid's Christmas so I can get him this thing that he's wanted for a while. And then I'm going to take the other $1,500 and I'm going to pay next month's rent. So I'm ahead of it. And then I'm going to take that other $1,000 and I'm going to put it in savings so that when something happens, I don't need to go get a credit card or a personal loan. I just have that money there, right? Do you guys see the difference between, oh, I want extra money and like, this is what I'm doing with the money? You have to be tied to the goal. It has to pull you. Now, I hate when people say, oh, your why has to make you cry. Okay, well, I'm not a crier. My why has not ever made me cry, and it will never make me cry because that's not something I do unless I'm pregnant. Then I cry a lot. But besides that, it's not going to make me cry. It's never been a thing. I used to cry about my why, but it never was like oh, I figured out my why and I had this spiritual moment and I sobbed my eyes out. Okay, that never happened. But your why has to be enough and your goal has to be enough that when you wake up, you're like, I'm going to choose to put effort in today. I'm going to choose me today. I'm going to choose my goal today. That's what has to happen every single day. Okay. So I want you guys to get specific about your goal, figure out what you want to do and why. And then I want you to figure out an action plan. What are the daily steps that you need to do to get there? What are measurable things that you can check back a week from now? So whatever, so we have 7 weeks left till the end of the year? I don't even know, something like that, maybe 8. What is that goal split in between 8 weeks, right? So then at the end of the week, you're like, yep, I'm on track. No, I'm not. I got to fix some things. I want you to stay on top of this. I want you to stay on top of yourself to make these things happen. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to do weekly Zooms like this every week for our team. And every week I just am going to do a different topic, whatever feels right, whatever feels like what's on my heart. So I hope this was helpful for you guys, and this will be up on my YouTube tonight. If you need anything, you know where to find me.